so much. I know we're tight on time, so I'm gonna try and keep this short. It is important for me to say, start off with, family means everything to me. And with that said, it wasn't always like that. When I was 16, I was in an abusive relationship, and I pushed my entire family away. My mom, my dad, my older sister, and my younger brother, they tried to help me, but I was too embarrassed, too ashamed, and eventually too afraid to accept their help. So how does it start? This relationship started off like any other relationship. It was lots of compliments, lots of inside jokes, lots of butterflies, and lots of smiles. But without realizing it, all of that stopped. And the compliments were replaced with name-calling that chipped away at my self-esteem. I cannot emphasize this enough. Once a person loses their self-esteem, it becomes so much easier to control them and isolate them from their friends and their family. It's important to know that abusive relationships start off with verbal abuse, go into emotional abuse, and by the time that first fall ever happens, you're already lost in manipulation and fear, and you no longer know who you are anymore. Over the course of 9 months, I tried to break up with him countless times, but the truth is, it's never that easy. Every time I broke up with him, he threatened to kill himself, and each time the threats grew more and more intense. He wrote very detailed letters explaining exactly how he would kill himself. Then he told me he left suicide letters throughout his room for people to find, saying it was my fault. I believed him, I was scared, and I stayed. At the beginning of the relationship, my mom noticed a shift in my personality. She tried to reach out, but I pushed her away. As the months passed, she noticed more and more warning signs. I stopped hanging out with my friends. I dressed differently. I wasn't as talkative or outgoing as I used to be, and I was always sad. She reached out again, but I thought she was being overprotective, so I got even more defensive and even more recluse. My mom contacted the nearby domestic violence center and asked for help. They told her more warning signs to look for, to document everything, and to keep the lines of communication open. As time passed, things got worse. Worse with the relationship and with me. I was sinking into a depression. She called the Women's Center again, and they explained to her the importance of me making the decision to break up with him. They explained that until I understood how unhealthy he was, I would always believe him, and I would always go back. After that, my mom worked around the clock to get me the help that I needed. She called the school and asked for my classes to be changed, but they said they couldn't do that. She then asked to meet with my teachers. She asked that my seat be changed so we wouldn't sit by one another. She explained that it had to be done in a discreet way so he would never find out. But one of my teachers thought my mom was being ridiculous and actually told him. I got the brunt of his anger, and the abuse became physical, and as a result, I, of course, was furious with my mom. I thought, how could you possibly think you're helping me? You made everything worse. My mom continued to make endless appointments with different counselors, drove me to each one, and waited anxiously in the waiting room, but nothing worked. She called the Women's Center again, and they explained that I needed to see a counselor who specialized in domestic violence. And that was it. That made all the difference in the world. I met with this counselor, and she understood how scared I was and how helpless I felt. She taught me all the tricks that abusers use to manipulate you and get you under their control. I made the decision for the umpteenth time to break up with him. And we went through the whole routine all over again. Me defending my reasons, him screaming, saying he loves me, he would never hurt me like the way I'm hurting him calling me names, and then of course threatening suicide. Like I said, he always threatened suicide, and I always believed him. But this time was different. This time, I was wiser, I was stronger, and I was prepared. I was doing a mental checklist, and that felt good. I knew what his next outburst was going to be, and I felt in control. However, I quickly learned, and what Safe says all too often, when a victim leaves the relationship, that's when they're in the most danger. And while I was at school one day, I used the hall pass. He must have seen me walk by. Because when I turned the corner on the way back, there he was, standing in the middle of the otherwise empty hallway. I thought, you got this, Laurie. You have nothing to be scared of. You're strong. You're not scared. You have this counselor in your head. You can do this. I kept my eye focused on the door that I needed to get to, and the plan was to walk by him without acknowledging him. But Jim refused to let me by. I moved to the right to get behind him, and he moved just as fast as he laughed at my failed attempt. I tried running, but he grabbed me by the back of the arm and slammed me into the lockers and then held me up by my neck. He had me so high that I couldn't touch the floor, and then his hands around my neck got tighter. I forget his exact words, but it was something to the effect of, I will kill you before you ever live a life without me, let alone date anyone else. I was screaming for him to let me go, but he squeezed my neck harder. It felt like minutes went by, and I started to worry if anyone would hear, because I wasn't able to scream loud anymore. I was trying to kick the lockers with my feet, but I didn't have the momentum. Then I began swinging my arms to bang the lockers as I tried to scream for help again. Finally, 2 teachers came out to see what the commotion was. One teacher's face was in pure shock and horror at what he was seeing, while the other teacher, the one that didn't move my seat, hollered at him to let go of me. Jim got sent to the principal's office, and the teacher asked me to take a walk with him. As we walked down the hallway, he looked at me and said, Laurie, if it was that bad, why didn't you just leave? And the truth is, it's never that easy. We realized the school could not protect me, and I was scared to go back. I agreed to talk to the Women's Center, and while meeting with them, I made the decision to file a restraining order and transfer to a new school. We had no idea where to start, right? I came from a really nice upbringing. My parents are happily married, but the Women's Center, similar to SAFE, helped us every step of the way and even went with us to court for moral support. Transferring schools in March of my junior year was its own challenge, but it was nothing in comparison to the constant fear that I was leaving behind. And here I am today, standing in front of you, thankful for my family, especially my mom, who never gave up on me, and I'm extremely thankful for my sister Julie and my brother Dennis, who are here today. This experience has obviously changed my life and inspired me to serve others in a greater capacity than myself. I love working at SAFE. As Julia said, I'm the executive assistant and the board liaison. I also do guest speaking at high schools on dating violence, and I walk teens through my relationship, beginning to end, and I explain the warning signs of an abusive relationship. I also love sharing that I'm happily married in a healthy marriage to an amazing man who loves me and accepts me for who I am. But y'all, things could have been drastically different for me if it wasn't for places like SAFE. My relationship lasted 12 months, 9 months of dating, and then 3 months of her stalking and harassment. However, 4 months after my relationship, Jim's new girlfriend spent 2 nights in the hospital, and that's how quickly it escalated. A few years after that, he received his first felony for stalking and aggravated assault. And in 2016, he was sentenced to 8 to 17 years in prison for stabbing an ex-girlfriend in the chest and the neck and the breast 8 times. So I am extremely, extremely thankful for places like SAFE, who helped my mom when no one else did. She called the Women's Center when she didn't know what to do or how to get through to me. When the school refused to help, she reached out to the Women's Center. She reached out again to know what our options were and when we needed legal services. They provided us advice, comfort, support, and a pathway to start the healing process. And for that, I'm extremely thankful, and thank you for being here today.